Hmm. So today I'm going to take this tapered veg tan strip. It's feathers, or what I call feathers, for a whip. And I'm going to try and leave this loose. And then there's a wheel back here where I can adjust the width. And I'm beveling this. And just trying to get. I'm using LED lighting, and so I've got a bit of a jitter. This is a tapered strip. So I'm adjusting the width as I go. Every 3 inches or so, the taper narrows because that's how I cut it. So I'm trying to cut it not quite all the way through to the flesh side. That way I don't change the dimensions of the string as I go. Hi. So I'm cutting a tapered strip. So this is beveling. Started off as half an inch or so. And these are the feathers that I'm going to braid a tapered whip with. And I'm trying to use this instead of freehanding. Normally I freehand these feathers, but it's hard to share that. Hi. So we're getting down to a 1/4 inch here. I'm beveling at 30 degrees, roughly. Then I'm going to loosen it up because this feather gets wider as I go now from this point on. Backing off the fence. I'm trying to keep the blade right where it meets so that it cuts down almost to zero. And every 3 inches it changes the taper on this. So this is a kind of a dynamic process where you have to feel your way through doing on tapered projects. But I thought I would show you this process, that one process I use for cutting these consistent tapered strips for building a snake whip in this case. And each time I hit this wheel, it moves at a 32nd of an inch or so, maybe a little bit more. You can flip this piece and see that I'm almost nicking the flesh or the skin side, but not quite. And that's what I want. I just want to bevel it so that it lays nice when I'm braiding. Okay, so that side is beveled. Now I need to take the square side and do the same thing. Now don't push towards a razor blade, folks. Do as I say, not as I do. Now the fence is rubbing up against a beveled edge, so it's squishing it down more. So I'm just kind of free floating and freewheeling this, feeling my way through where I need that fence to be. And that fence, where it needs to be, changes as I go. Like I said, the taper drops. The width of this string drops about a 1/16 of an inch in width every 3 and 3.5 inches. So I can pull a little ways, and then the size of the skiff coming off or the edge coming off changes. Normally I would lock this in place, but I'm free floating it so that I can adjust it on the fly and keep beveling off the edge as the size of the lace goes down. I'm getting down to a 1/4 inch. The high end, it's a little more than 1/2 inch. It goes down to about 3/16 in the middle, about 4 millimeters. For those of you that work in metric. And the narrowest section is about 6 inches, and then I have to start backing the fence off the other direction. You can also pull this slightly forward and manually do the same thing without the fence. but having the fence there is nice because you can more accurately deliver the result you're trying to get. It's a fun tool. Right now it's just got a Stanley steel blade in here. It's not really the blade it's supposed to have, but when you're cutting veg tan, cowhide is 4 or 5 ounce. I find it's the fact that this blade won't bend, it really does help it cut. You do have to watch out for the bottom of this blade because it sticks out and it will bite you. So I try and share how I go about doing stuff, and everybody has different methods for doing all this stuff. I'm building a set of ceremonial whips for a customer. They wanted gold, so this is gold colored, so I painted it gold. Whenever you go around a corner, now this is a single long strip that's about 8 feet. So you can see the width and see how the tapers down pretty uniformly. Then try and cut it here. So I'm going to cut through down here. And then I'll bleed knot these two ends. So yes, this is a little scalpel. Don't cut through your finger, because if it'll cut leather, it'll make short work of your finger. It's nice to have a little fid. And so this gives me 2 strands, and then after I braid up the body of the whip, this will be an 8 plate whip when I'm done. But they'll have 4 of these pairs of feathers that taper. And I've got one more to cut. I have a lot of junk setting. closer we get. Pretty close. Might be catching flesh side. Oh, barely catching flesh side. Okay, so I've gone 3.5, 4 inches. So I'm going to go 6 on the first. I'm going to narrow it up. One other test is if you're not catching, well, found the blade. If you're not catching the skin side, it'll just, the chaff will just kind of slough off. And one of the things about doing stuff with veg tan is it squeaks as you're working with it and talks to you. And you can see where I touched the blade, but I'm not leaking on the leather, so that's good. In case anybody wondered if the razor blade was sharp. I hate testing it with my own skin. I'm knocking it in by a 32nd of an inch by kicking this wheel every 3.5 inches. It narrows by a 32nd. Roughly. Is it perfect? No. I just do the best I can. Make sure I'm cutting enough to get a bevel, because the beveling helps it lay smoother. Okay, I can tell it's not cutting as well as I want. To move the blade up a little bit. Get to a fresh part of it. Oh, look how much smoother that is. A little tighter. A little tight. No, not that much tighter. We're starting to go back up. I gotta go the other way with the wheel. So that anyway, welcome to Beveling cowhide whip feathers. This tool is a very cool tool. It's they're not a sponsor. They don't pay me anything, etc. I really like this little tool. It's a combo beveler by Y-Knot. I think they're out of Montana. It's one of the best little tools, and the price is nice. And then I need to turn this around, so I've beveled this area up here. Of course, doesn't want to stay in focus. Gotta love cell phone technology. There it goes. So I'm going to open it up just a touch, gently push it through, squish it down a little bit. So you'll notice when I go to kick this wheel to go narrower, I'll push on it because it keeps it in tension. It compresses the strip. And it's easier to get it to do what I want. But every 3.5 inches I kick it, and if you flip this around, you'll see there's no flesh side. I'm just catching the underside of the leather and beveling it at 30 degrees. So I don't want to change the leather dimensionally. One of the things you can do to test is you can just pull on it, it comes apart. And as the taper goes down, it'll leave more of an edge, and I'll have to squish that fence up closer a little bit. And once you get a knack for it, you can go pretty fast with this. Normally I freehand these, but I usually taper them the other way. And you can see I'm building up corgi hair because I've got an assistant corgi who's quality control. Unfortunately, he's also got zero hair management. And since the lace is setting on the floor, he's picking up corgi hair like crazy. Now that's going from narrow from 4 millimeters, it's going back out. So as this strip widens, I have to kick it, move the fence out. But I don't have to push in on it because it's already being pushed more and more against the fence. Like I said, part of this is feel, experience. Part of it is a little bit of math that you do ahead of time if you want to. Try and make sure you're getting it just right. Gosh, I hate the corgi hair. It's even worse when you're braiding, because I always see all those hairs trying to get in there. Definitely have to vacuum before I can lay this down and plait it. This is 4 or 5 ounce veg tan. Okay, I'm gonna try and. So now, up here, this area will get cut off anyway, this top area. I'm just going to check and see how the taper is. use a scalpel, and I'm going to bleed knot these two feathers together to be one piece. So those two. There's a left feather with curves that will curve around the whip counterclockwise, and one that's really straight on the other side. There's two of the four done. Trying to do all these the same. Third one. I've got one more to do, and then I'll have four. Now each of these strips, because it's for a 3-foot whip, each of these strips are 4.5 or 5 feet long. I'm trying to find where the narrowest point is. And I'm a leather worker more than a more than I am a painter. But the person ordered gold for ceremonial whips. So I'm doing gold. And yes, I cut some leather beyond where. So here's where the split is. Put the scrap in. Like I said, I do things a lot different than other people, so there's four strips, and the long feathers are underneath, so I have to orient them like this. And then what you do is you set them kind of like this. And this one will go this way. And this feather will go in this way. And then you'll have a square start for the top of the whip. Now, mind you, all these knotted feathers, once you start plaiting this 8 plate, all four of those feathers for the square start will get cut off when you put the build up for the heel knot. So I'm not worried about this area, but these will go on a core that's about 1 inch in diameter. And I've got 5 of these to build, so I've got to cut more leather strips. I'm going to stop this stream for right now, and I'll come back. I'm going to go cut 4 more feathers. Or should I just pause? Any opinions? Anybody want to type me anything? Take me 10 minutes, 5 minutes to cut 4 more feathers. But my lighting isn't very good in the other room. Do you guys want to see the process of cutting the feathers? I'm going to let it run for a couple minutes. I'm going to go cut some more feathers. Be right back. Here for you guys to watch in case you guys have an interest. somebody cut feathers. Try not to. Okay, so you kick this, give it 3.5 inches, kick it, 3.5 inches, kick it, 3.5 inches, okay, I've hit the hard stop. So at the hard stop, I'm going to do 1, 2, so about 11 inches. And I'm kicking the wheel the other direction. Now I'm going to go down to 4 millimeters, which is where the right side of this fence on this Aussie strander is pretty much there. So it's 3 or 4 millimeters. So there's one feather. And this is a really nice big cowhide. Okay, so I'm going to start here. Wow. That blade's getting dull. So I've modified this strander and put on a washer and a kangaroo washer under it. I put in a knurled thumb screw because this tool's designed for schick blades. And I'm using scalpel blades. And you can just thumb tighten it if you want, but I really prefer to crank it down. I don't want that blade moving. And a sharp blade will usually cut a little wider. Okay, so 3.5, 4 inches. Sorry, I'm opening it up as I go. None of this is an exact science. It's just, I did calculate the distance because how many kicks between the narrowest point and the widest point that I wanted. And I'm at the hard stop, so one distance, two distances. Oh no, that's annoying. But that's going to be okay because that's the area that I'm going to cut off. Three distances. And I'm going to narrow it up as I go on around. I'm going to lower this and see if I can see what I'm doing. There's two feathers. You can also just cut the other direction, so you can just reverse it in this method. Normally I have this up against the support. Now I'm up against the hard stop. So I need to do 3 lengths, so 1, 2, 3. Now, the part of the whip that's going to get cut off happens to be right where the scar is from a brand up here, but that won't affect the end result because when I braid the strands together and insert the core, that's the area that gets cut off. So, okay, I've got to narrow it up. Narrow it up. Narrow it up. Narrow it up. So it goes back down to 3 or 4 millimeters. There's a third feather, and I need they're double feathers in this case. And I need to open it up more as I go. So I'm going from the narrow end. Hit the hard stop. So I need to do 3. There's 1. Two. There happens to be a little brand in here. 3. I'm going to start narrowing it. So this is just an Aussie strander tool. It's a Dean Williams strander, I think they call it. Like I said, I've modified this one quite a bit. It's a good roughing out tool. It's not really good for doing super fine precision work, but people always ask, how long does it take to do stuff? It's like, well, it takes whatever it takes. Let's go back over to the beveling station. Oops. Oh, goody. Okay. camera foot. Didn't want to stay put. Okay. Like I said, I'm not a great cameraman. I do a pretty good job building stuff, but so now we have a flipping the blade around. So you can freehand it this way by pulling it so that it comes over the curve. And it does a pretty good job of letting you bevel. But you really have to watch the line. But once you get it far enough where you can bring the fence into play, okay, so as this gets wider, I have to kick it back and relax it. Starting to get to the maximum width in the middle. And I am not even catching the flesh side, which is good. Right there, I'm catching the edge of the flesh side. I wonder if I touched my lens. Must have. Probably did touch my lens. I hate autofocus. And yes, I'm trying not to catch myself down here because that would not be good. Okay, so I'm at I think I'm at the maximum width of this string. There's 10 or 12 inches of uniformity, and then it'll start going the other way. Then I'll have to taper it the other way. one of the problems with V-shaped blades is that they'll cant up, and instead of cutting in, they'll start compressing the leather instead of cutting it, which is irritating. There we have it in focus at least for a second. Okay, switching around. Here's a trick. If you use a pair of scissors, you cut a little feather that you can feed through. Of course, the corgi here is starting to build up. And I'll switch between using the fence and freehanding it through this process because it's faster for me to freehand it than it is to keep monkeying with the adjustment. And so there you go. There's double beveled lace. It goes all the way down to triangular. one feather. I'm freehanding it until it makes contact with the rail. I'm going to open it up and let it cut till it starts binding. Oops. Tip number 2, have some place to toss the string so that it gets out of your way. Go the other way because this feather is narrowing up. Oh, come on. You can change the angle of attack and still use the fence to manage the narrower parts of the string cut. So that edge is beveled, that edge is square. I'm going to freehand it until it starts catching. One other tip, you can always scrape away from the blade, but not towards it. And if you forget, it'll let you know. It's nice that way, razor blades are. Okay, so that blade is starting to get rough. I'm going to scoot it up to a fresh area of that blade. You don't have to go very far. And then it'll cut like butter. And you can make waste really fast if you don't pay attention. And people are asking sometimes, are you cutting through the flesh side? No, it's a little triangle. There's no flesh side there. Or I'm cutting the flesh side, but not the skin side. So I don't want to dimensionally change the taper. And that's right about the maximum. I don't think it's going to get any wider. but it will get narrower. So we're going to narrow it up as we go. And after a few years of doing this, you too can make it look easy. A lot of what I do, I make look a lot easier than it probably is in real life. So very triangular towards the end, because when it gets narrow enough, those 30-degree angles intersect. Right. I'm starting to make contact with the rail. I have to kick the rail a little bit. Of course, I'm picking up all the corgi hair from Sammy and Penny, who occasionally come and help me with my stuff. Mostly by barking, telling me how much they like whips. Really? You know, I hate LED lights. Okay, so I'm actually going to freehand the last 2 feet here. blade chewing on itself. The blade's starting to chatter. Move the blade up. Try it some more. Look, it's cutting smoothly again. Through the wide section. Now it's starting to narrow, so gotta sketch it the other way. And the more accurate you can be, the more consistent you can move, the better results you're going to have, no matter what the tools are. Like I said, I usually freehand these strips, but I've been trying to figure out how to do tapered strands on it because people ask. I don't sell these tools, but why not? Makes this combination beveler. And it'll take most any razor blade. Right now it's got a Stanley utility blade in there. And I'm down to my fourth strip. And I hate the lighting. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to try turning off the fluorescent for a minute. Turn on the camera light for the... I wonder if that is my overhead light. Hey, I got the stupid lines to go away. That's pretty amazing. Now the problem is it's only my cell phone light. I wonder if all the other lights are that way. May have to make a DC power supply just for this. Yeah. That one's a DC light. If you listen to the blade, it'll talk to you when it starts getting dull. Tell you when it needs to move. It's starting to chatter at me. getting into the widest section. Wow. Just going to freehand it. Notice this thing is up against my finger so that I can't pull my finger through the blade. Don't pull your fingers through the blade. It's bad form. Doesn't help them survive. As it gets narrower, hitting the thumb screw to get closer. Then as you get down to the last foot, where it gets down to 4 millimeters, it's harder to keep the blade from rubbing the fence. So you can just feed it by hand. Okay. And so there we start off at 1/8 of an inch or so, and it bumps up, bumps up, bumps up, bumps up, bumps up, bumps up. And it tapers down, back down to 1/8 of an inch. You flip it over. Let's see how well it beveled it. Pretty nice little feathers. That'll lay really smooth. It's got a 30-degree bevel all the way down. And this whip design is one of my own. So thank you for tuning in. I'm going to give it up for the night because my hands hurt. And I'll try and show you more with this tool. But I appreciate you guys watching me. Hit the like button, subscribe button if you aren't subscribed. If you want to see more of my stuff, remember to like it and it'll show up in your feed. Shows up easier if you're subscribed, but it won't show up if you don't constantly like some of the videos when I produce them. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you. I do this for you, so have a great night. Check with Pocket Snakes out.